I'm a bloody mess. Oh god, no, it's in my mouth. This is why they didn't need to do a final Sarah Jane story, because it's just gonna kill me. Oh god. Oh god, it's just so it's like I wish they would finish this story one day just so it wasn't left open, but now I wish they hadn't. I didn't know what I was expecting. I thought it was gonna be like like a minute, maybe two, and then I clicked on YouTube. It was like 13 minutes. I was like, no, it's like half an episode. Oh God, Jesus Christ! I need to get a grip. Hi. So, this is an impromptu discussion video. I want to talk about the Sarah Jane Adventures. So I was thinking of doing this as a scripted video, but considering I've already got a scripted video well, not a scripted video, but like an audio video that I need to really, really edit down a lot to do, and I've got two scripted videos coming out next month. I don't want to do another one because they are actually a lot of work to do. So I don't want to add to my pile of things. So I just wanted to do like an impromptu, just talking about Sarah Jane Adventures and mainly focusing on the story we just had called Farewell Sarah Jane. So I think, did they announce it the day before Sunday, Saturday or Friday when they were doing a Stolen Earth Journey's End watch along? And I feel like it was one of the biggest ones. I feel like the Day of the Doctor one and the Rose one were really big. But I feel like they've been so common. I feel like they've kind of fallen out the public eye a bit. But I think this one kind of was really popular. And it's by far, obviously, we've had some short stories written by people. We've had, I think they've mostly been the 13th Doctor ones. I think they've all been 13th Doctor ones, actually. But we've also had, we had that Doctor Who and the Time War from Russell T Davies. We had that Arthur Darvill video set after Angels Take Manhattan. We had that little short story, The Regular Doctor. We have all these things for all these episodes. Most watch-alongs come with some kind of bonus content that gets released. However, a 13-minute episode, I mean, it was mostly audio because it was mostly narrated, and obviously we had the bits where we had characters like filming their part. And some of them were a lot more visual than others, like Angeli, I'll call her by a character's name, Angeli, who plays Rani, and Katie, who plays Jo. Theirs seemed a lot more like acting as if they're in the scene, whereas obviously some of the other characters were working with what they had. They were filming in their room, because this seems, again, quite impromptu. It didn't seem like they were planning it for a whole long time, which is why it's even more amazing how good it is. So Sarah Jane Adventures meant a lot to me, and it was an amazing program. Elizabeth Sladen was an amazing woman. Sarah Jane was an amazing character, and I never even really think about how we had a bit with Rani's mum, Geeta. I've forgotten her actress's name. I'll put it up here. But she was talking about, her bit was how amazing it was, how all the kids, could have been going to parties and hang out in the park, but they chose to hang out with Sarah Jane, and she was saying how amazing Sarah Jane was, and I was like, yeah, see, this was a CBBC program. It was aimed at kids. It was, if you look at the ratings, Sarah Jane Adventures is, I would easily say, their most popular program CBBC has ever had. I think it was the height of CBBC, to be honest. It was like must-watch programming for kids. I've realised this in all my schools I've been to. Everyone watched Sarah Jane Adventures who was my age, roughly my age. Like, a lot of them didn't even watch Doctor Who, but they watched Sarah Jane Adventures, because everyone my age watched Sarah Jane Adventures. And I was just like, and here's this woman, she was 50 something, 60 something. I can't remember, I'll put what her age was when she started the show. And all these kids were going, yes, we want to watch this program about this 50-year-old woman, and we love her. She's amazing. Yes, there are kids, but it was the Sarah Jane Adventures. Sarah Jane was the through line, and from the people I've talked to, everyone loved Sarah Jane. You know, it wasn't just, oh, I like Luke, and, you know, Sarah Jane's cool. Everyone was like, oh yeah, we love Sarah Jane, she's amazing. And that's what was so special about the show. You know, the main character of a kids show wasn't a kid, wasn't even a young adult, and everyone was just like, we still adore her. And we adored all the characters, I think. I don't think there was one character. I mean, Clyde could be annoying sometimes, but like, it was part of his charm as he had bad jokes. You know, Maria was only you always forget that Maria was only there for the first season and a bit. But she was, you know, amazing. She didn't do any voice work for this, but she was mentioned, her and her dad, in America, and she was amazing. Luke, played by Tommy Knight, was great. I think what was so sweet about this is they confirmed what they were going to do in the show, which was have him get with Sanjay, who they'd mentioned in the previous episode. And I liked that in this one because I don't think is the problem with these. Someone's gonna go like, is this even canon? Because you could say it's just as canon as like the Big Finish audios or the comic books because it's not an episode. But I think just having any media just go, yes, Luke and Sanjay got together then, they've been married for 5 years. I just thought that was amazing. I thought that was so sweet, and obviously this was written by Russell. Jacob Dudman did the narration and voiced Mr. Smith for that one line. He's like a big Finish person. He does like all the Doctor Chronicles. Can't wait for him to do Jodie's one. And yeah, I think it was a touch that obviously people who did their research are like, oh, this is what you were going to do in the show, and now you've finally been able to do it. And it was everyone got included. It felt so amazing because this is something I never thought we were going to get. I told you the structure of this video is going to be all over the place. I never thought we were going to get a final story. I know that we've been told a little bit about what they were planning to do. I always thought maybe they should do some books. That would have been nice. To like continue the story, but they never ended up doing that. I think because Russell, I understand it was like this when Elizabeth passed away. I think it was kind of like this is the end, you know. To be respectful, let's call it a day. But sort of under these circumstances, you know, it felt right, if that makes any sense. Like I felt like if this had come out back when the show ended, like 2011, almost 10 years ago now, it feels like I was watching it yesterday. I mean, I was watching it recently. I have the box set, but you know, I was watching it on TV and making sure I got home in time. And I remember series 3, I missed the first episode and I was furious, you know, all these things. And then I was like, no, it's been 10 years, and I think I was also happy because obviously this was on the same day as the watch along for Soul Nurse Journey's End, and it wasn't all about Liz Sladen, it was about everyone, but I kind of liked how this day kind of became a way of being like, let's celebrate this amazing actor, let's celebrate this amazing character, let's celebrate this amazing story, this amazing program, you know. I did cry while I was watching, it was towards the end, it was the end of it when Anjali was, you know, Anjali/Rani was talking about what she think happened to Sarah Jane, and Mr. Smith was like, I think so too. And then you saw all the credits, and they were playing songs from the show. I don't think I'm gonna get teary now. I don't think I can. I have a very hard time crying in. I mean, to be fair, I did post a video on Twitter for me like crying, so I don't know. I don't think I'm gonna cry now. I think I've had time to sort of process it. But you know, I'd always, as I mentioned, I'd always thought like, I wish they would end it one day. And then when this happened, I was like, I wish they hadn't. I was silly. I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't know what I was doing. I guess I should go through like the story. So when it was called Farewell Sarah Jane, I was like, oh no, okay. And we had no idea what the story was about. We just knew it was called Farewell Sarah Jane. I had no idea it was going to be 13 minutes either. I thought it would be like a 4-minute short story that like someone narrated like from the show. I didn't realize it'd be a full cast. And And so it starts, and immediately it's like Sarah Jane's funeral, and I was like, oh my god, why do you have to do this to me, Russell? You know, and I think this is meant to be set like now, like this is, and it's kind of nice, the idea that Sarah Jane kept having adventures. I'm glad this isn't set like just after. And they talk about the reception, and I loved when they mentioned the trickster, and what was his like jackal pack or whatever his servants were. And I loved how they phrased it. They had like a 10-minute adventure with the trickster, but went back to the funeral service, because of course the trickster would want to ruin Sarah Jane's funeral. You know, why wouldn't he? His literal existence. It seems that after whatever happened to Sarah Jane, the trickster just got fixated and was like, I will hunt you down and make anything around you a misery. And like, this was kind of, it was like, the script was almost silly in a way, like the amount of times they mentioned these like the diamond wolves and all these things, but that was what Sarah Jane was. What episode is it? Is it Wedding of Sarah Jane, I think, where Wedding of Sarah Jane Smith, where they like Ronnie and Clyde are busy trying to get this like slug creature, previously seen in The Mark of the Berserker, I'm a super fan, into like a bin because it's got loose and all these, you know. Sometimes the show was silly, and I don't know, I like the idea of them phrasing of, during this funeral, they had like a 10-minute adventure to get rid of the trickster, and the fact they went into the detail of Geeta missed it, and I was like, of course Geeta missed it. Geeta missed everything. And it feels like so much love went into this and making it feel like a real Sarah Jane story. And then when Katie Manning turned up, that's when I was just like, oh, this is gonna kill me. I loved how she was dressed. I loved that one of her grandchildren was called Rio de Janeiro, because remember her grandson was called Santiago. It was such a cool thread. I love that they've just made current Jo Grant just has a million grandchildren all named after places. You know, I just love that that's what they've made her. She's kooky, you know, she can't remember where she's put her glasses. The fact that she broke the vase, I thought that was a cute reference. I think maybe, I don't know if that was a reference to the fact that she didn't she bring the vase when in the death of the Doctor. She did, didn't she? She was like a vase thing. Or did she? Oh, because she did break it, didn't she? See, that's what I mean. I was just like, of course she broke a vase. That's what Jo Jones does. I'm sorry, she's Jo Jones now. You know, I'm so sorry, I got her name wrong. And the way she talked about Sarah. I mean, we only saw them on screen together, but I feel like you know, we only saw them on screen together once. But Katie she's just a sweetheart, to be fair, though. I mean, I've only recently just heard the first ever bit of her talking as Iris Wildtime in the Big Finish audios, and I was like, oh my god, I love this. I die. Wasn't she meant to do that? Wasn't they were going to do that like Australia event? It was like Good Day of the Doctor, and he was going to do like a live Iris Wildtime like new adventure. I bet she was going to do it live. Did that end up happening? I can't remember if it did. I haven't seen anything about it, and I can't remember if the con happened or if obviously it's probably been cancelled / postponed because of COVID. So I'm not sure about that. But Katie Manning's a wonderful woman. It was lovely to see her there. I think her segment was quite long, which I was not mad at. And then Ace turned up. Good old Sophie Aldred. And this is like, I like how they treated this episode as if all their plans for the rest of Sarah Jane Adventures had actually happened, because I think they'd always planned for them to meet one day. I think they'd contemplated having her in a previous episode, but they always kind of sort of thought, well, no, one day we'll get Ace in. And the fact that she was like, I only met her the once. And her story was interesting because Russell got to do what he wanted. He had free reign. He didn't have any kind of connections, and the fact that she told the story of when she was with the Doctor, obviously would have been the 7th Doctor presumably, and once they were like in a prison cell, and then he was just like, I miss Sarah Jane. And I think I could see putting a particular companion on a pedestal above the rest could be dodgy, but I think they made it so clear that the Doctor cared about all his and her companions that I think it was just a moment of, sometimes the Doctor will just go, I miss Sarah Jane, or I miss Susan, or I miss Tegan, And then she says, like, when I met Sarah Jane, I understood why the Doctor missed her. I was like, that's such a cute line. that she met Sarah Jane and she was like, I know why the Doctor missed you so much. You're amazing. Um, and I love that Ace. I feel like Ace is really kind of. She's always been popular, but in the last year or so, she's been doing a lot. She had A Childhood's End. She had Dark Universe, which was set with modern Ace. She had her bit in the trailer for the season. Was it season 26 box set? I think it was. Was it season 25? I can't remember. It was one of those. And I just feel like I'm just like, oh, Ace, come on, have a comeback. I feel like of all the classic companions, I think Ace is the best chance. If they were to pick one to come back to the show, I think they'd probably pick Ace. And there's mentions of other companions. They mention Maria and her dad. They mention Skye. I thought they were going to miss her out. They mentioned Skye and they said it in her human form. So I know that there was meant to be plans after series, or at the end of series 5, that she was going to be like a trap of the trickster. But I like the idea that she like became some powerful being who has like multiple forms beyond human, because obviously she'd be a lot older now. She'd be able to like control her powers and stuff. And obviously she wasn't a part of it, and I didn't really expect her to be. Like, she was only in 3 episodes. Obviously, yes, I know that Sarah Jane adopted her as her daughter, but she wasn't there for very long. They mentioned Barbara and Ian. They mentioned Ben and Polly. They mention Nyssa and Tegan. And they say that couple from Australia, or that Australian couple. How have I never shipped Nyssa and Tegan before? I've never even thought about it. I know Josh Snares is having the time of his life. But I just thought it was so funny. And before someone gets to me, I know that in Big Finish she has another ending, but definitely is not her ending up in Australia. But like, it's Doctor Who. Literally, the best thing is if you want to, you can consider everything canon and just go, that moment of time was in flux. It's been rewritten since that event, so now it's this. Like, okay, so this is how her story ended in Big Finish. Well, since that, there's been moments in flux, and instead of ending up on wherever she did, I'm not going to say anything because it spoils it a bit. Instead of ending up wherever she did, however she did, she ended up in Australia with Tegan. I like the idea that the Doctor just went to visit her, and Nyssa was like, I want to go visit Tegan. Obviously, I haven't seen her in a long time since she was on Terminus. And then she went, you know what, Doc? I want to stay here. I like Australia. I'm in love with Tegan. Love it. Now Big Finish has to do a story with Nyssa and Tegan on Earth. Sorry, I don't make the rules. So that's what they have to do. I think they might have mentioned others. I'm sorry if I forgot anyone. But I remember those sets of people really stuck out to me. Oh, they mentioned Dodo. I was like, oh god, Dodo. The only person to not appear in Big Finish as themselves, who's obviously alive. So come on, Dodo. I mean, to be fair, she was treated pretty badly on the actual show, so, you know. I kind of like the idea that there's this, like, network, because in Death of the Doctor, Sarah Jane mentions she knows about all these other companions, she knows of them. So I like the idea that when Sarah Jane dies, they all know about it and they all visit. Oh, Captain Jack is talked about saluting. He only visits briefly. Oh, they included Mickey and Martha as well. Okay, I'm remembering it now as I go through them. And was it their son August? So I guess they've got a child now, Mickey and Martha. And I didn't know they were meant to turn up in. They've been talking about it online because of all the watch-alongs. They were meant to be in Torchwood Children of Earth, which is why at the end of A Journey's End they go off with Jack. But both of them were like busy. Their schedules didn't line up, so they couldn't do it. That was crazy. I kind of wish that had happened, because I think one of the problems with Torchwood is as the seasons go on, the team just sort of gets smaller and smaller, and like there's no new members apart from Miracle Day, but then Miracle Day was like bombed, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, so that was an interesting tidbit that's related to the subject, I guess. And obviously the main 3 all come back. We have Clyde, we have Luke, we have Rani. I've already talked about Luke. Clyde's was really funny. It felt really sincere. And I like that Clyde was like, sometimes when Clyde was like, yeah, she was all right, that was a very Clyde thing to say. And when he was like, she saw what I could be, and that's how she judged me on how good I could be. And the fact that his ending, he ends up like going to Comic-Con and stuff, I was like, yeah, because I think Luke going on to, because they say Geneva, so I think that's, did they say unit or did they just say Geneva? I feel like it's at least implied he's like doing like Unity stuff, although didn't Unit just get disbanded? I don't know. And I swear UNIT has like a headquarters in Geneva, or did I make that up? I'll have to look. I think that was a direct reference. And Rani's like, you know, trying to take down governments with her excellent journalism skills. You know, obviously Clyde, that's not what he was going for. He's like a comic book artist now. But, and he goes to like, you know, Comic-Con, he probably does film work as well. But obviously in like the episode Mona Lisa's Revenge, he uses the Centauran gun and stuff to inspire his art, you know. So I think that's probably what he was doing. He probably has comics and he has like little references. You know, when there was that comic, obviously the actor was actually drawing them, but there was that one episode where we got to see what he was drawing. I think it might have been, was it Mona Lisa's Revenge? We got to see it, and it was like a comic strip of like the Shan Sheath, and I was like, that's a very good drawing. But anyway, I'm waffling, and I've only got a limited time because my phone's running out of space because I forgot to delete things before I filmed this. Oh, I'm sorry. And then Angeli gets like the ending monologue because they keep talking about how Rani's like sort of standing back, not really saying too much. She's being polite, but she's not going out of her way to like talk about Sarah. And her death is unknown. We don't know how Sarah Jane died, which I think is the way I don't want to know. I don't want her to die in a heartbreaking way. If Sarah Jane has to die, I want it to be the natural causes. She was just like went off in her sleep. But they never say anything. They were all out of the country, which I think is somewhat like a little. When they said that, I was like, oh, that's actually a little bit sad. But then it makes more sense because then Rani is like, I don't think she's dead. I think the doctor came and picked her up, and now she's traveling through time and space. And that maybe she faked her death, or maybe she went and did all these things and then came back as if she'd never left. And I don't know, but it's basically implied that she hasn't actually died. She's just gone off traveling time and space. Like the doctor came back for her, you know. And I think a lot of people have decided to take it as it's the curator doctor, which I think is a very sweet thing to say. I think especially now the curator can come at any time, you know, in the Doctor's future timeline. I think it's very sweet that they have like this other version of the Doctor played by Tom Baker traveling with Sarah Jane. I think that's a very sweet idea. And I think it's a good ending for Sarah Jane. I think, you know, there was so much about her being left behind by the Doctor and hoping he'd come back for her one day. Then they met in school reunion and she was like, I don't want to travel, it's not for me, you know. And then she had her own adventures with these kids, but they all grew up, they all left home. And I like the idea that she was like, the Doctor came back and she's like, I want to travel, this is how I want to spend my life. You know, I've raised Luke and Sky, you know, basically helped raise Rani, Clyde and Maria, you know, these kids I've helped, I've defended the Earth, you know, and now it's my time to travel. It's my time to sort of take my reward. You know, the Doctor finally comes back for her, and I think that's such a sweet ending, and I think it's the only ending I would have accepted. And also Angeli delivers that beautifully. It's the only one which is very professionally shot, where they have her next to sort of a white door and they've imposed the attic behind her. I mean, if you're going to be picky, the attic, the shot they use of the background doesn't correlate with where the door is. I was like, wait, that's part of a different wall. But I'm not going to be picky, like. Like, the fact that we got this at all, I don't give a shit. And Angeli delivers it beautifully. I think I was glad they gave it to her. I think it was an interesting choice to give it to her. I think they could have given it to Luke or Clyde. But what I always thought about Rani is Rani wanted to be Sarah Jane. She wanted to be a journalist. She wanted to, you know, the whole story. I've forgotten the name of it. The Mad Woman in the Attic. That's it. Is about her. She wants to be recognised like Sarah Jane. She wants to be important. So I think it was very important that someone that Rani idolises, she gets to sort of deliver the final word of Sarah Jane Adventures. And the bit about Mr. Smith is like, you know, you have to deactivate me, you have to leave the house alone, you know, let it get old. Although I do like the idea that it could still somewhat match with the Mad Woman in the Attic, speaking of, that maybe that's what Rani does, and then when Rani wants to, like, settle down, she goes, what other house would it be? Of course, I'm going to go back to 13 Bannerman Road, you know. It was a sad ending. I mean, Mr. Smith is gone, basically, at this point. Mr. Smith's like, you know, shut me down. But I think Mr. Smith's last word of "I think so too, Rani," that was a great line. Also, I think an interesting decision that K9 goes off with Ace. It's not made clear whether I think K9 was with Sarah, and obviously now that Sarah's gone. Oh no, because she went to Luke, didn't he? K9 went off with Luke, and then I probably think, if I sort of rationalise it, Luke was like, well, I don't need K9 anymore, I'm going off to work with UNIT in Geneva, like I think. And they were like, well, Sarah, Mum, you can have K9 back, company, K9 and company. And then now that Sarah's gone, I like the idea that Ace was like, I'll look after K9, Um, I think maybe doing... I mean, I'm surprised Big Finish hasn't done a solo Ace series yet. But considering that now canonically, if you believe this, I mean, your canon can be what you want, but she now has Ace, I think it'd be a very smart idea that if you want to continue a story in a way, because I do agree that I think Sarah Jane should be left alone now, I think maybe do Ace and K9, and maybe bring back the Trickster or something if they can for the box sets, I don't know. But I think they should kind of leave Sarah alone now, if that makes sense. I think her story's over. Have, like, Return of the Sidemen. Maybe have a few every now and then, like, classic Sarah Jane, played by Sadie Miller. Obviously, it's her daughter, so it's, she's going to give consent. But that's what I would stick to. So I'm really running out of time. I thought this was amazing. I loved Farewell Sarah Jane. I love the Stonehead Adventures. I can't wait to review it at some point. And I can't thank Russell, everyone who performed in it. Sacha Dhawan, I think, recorded Angeli's part, because I didn't even know I think they're in a relationship or something, or they're friends. Thank you. If you liked, like, subscribe, hit the bell. I love you guys.